Hello and welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. My name is Lincoln Shrike. He is Gordon Mack. It's Monday, November 23rd. We're just chugging right along, talking about the little tiny tidbits of track and field news and action that we can possibly squeeze out of some results. We'll get to those little things in just a moment. But first, Gordon, how are you doing today?
Doing all right. We have we got to do 25 podcasts before indoor season starts. Maybe 30 podcasts before indoor season. Are you prepared for that?
Yeah, I mean, every week it's probably 3 out of 5 podcasts are difficult. You got to get creative because let's be honest, there's nothing happening. These are all things like in a normal circumstance, they wouldn't be happening. For example, the 3K we're going to talk about, wouldn't have happened because Saturday was supposed to be the NCAA cross country championships. So obviously wouldn't have NAU guys running in a 3K time trial. But most of the things we talk about are things that in normal times would get no attention. But now they get like a whole 20-minute segment, So I suppose we get to take a deeper look at the smaller side of track and field, road racing and cross country. It's not a bad thing, but we're just looking for anything now. Like this runner gets a new dog. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. That's worth it. That can be like 5 minutes of airtime. We're just looking for a story wherever we can find it.
You mentioned how this past weekend was supposed to be NCAA cross country champs. What do you miss most about not being able to have that meet go down in November like it was supposed to?
What do I miss the most?
Or what were you most excited for?
Right. It's very easy. It's tempting to make a joke here because Let's Run's Jonathan Galt wrote a whole article about this where he talked about missing the hot cocoa. And so I am tempted to have some jokes, but I'll play this one down the middle of the fairway. Excuse me. I miss the team competition, right? That's what cross country is great about. I miss, everyone finishing and everyone in their head trying to calculate points when it's close. That's stuff I miss. You just don't. Track is just so drawn. Obviously we haven't had track championships recently either, but track's just so drawn out over numerous days, and you usually, for the most part, know who's going to win by the, last half of the second day of competition. Cross country, yes, you could have a good idea, but so much can change on the men's side between 8K and 10K. I love that. I love trying to figure out who finished where right after the race ends. And just seeing like the massive bodies cross the finish line completely exhausted at the end of NCAA cross country championships is something I've definitely missed. And we've now gone over a year without any NCAA championships. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah, and one thing that it's like weird about cross country, I'm not sure if this is a miss or was excited about, but more just like kind of like it's like an emotional. I feel like cross country is like an emotional roller coaster that ends. So the cool thing about cross country season, in my opinion, is that there's like this 2.5 month regular season where you have people trying to get points, try to qualify. You have the Nutty Co meet, you have conference championships, you have interesting stories that come here and there throughout the 2.5 month process, and it's all building to this one moment. And like you have 2.5 months building to a 30-minute moment, and then once that 30-minute moment is done, it's like, all right, it's over. It's like really weird, like because when you spend so much time like invested in ranking the athletes, projecting the teams, debating who has the better fifth man, fifth woman, all this stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like in an instant, a women's team champion and a men's team champion are just crowned like that. It's like, wait, shouldn't there be more? Like we've been building this up for so long. That's the only, it's like a weird feeling. It's like, you kind of like, I think as a journalist, you kind of get emotionally tired from like, you're covering it, you're getting ready for the big race, you're like, You're diving deep day in and day out about who's going to win, who's not going to win. You're writing articles, making videos, flying across the country to get all the content. And then it's just like at 1:00 in Terre Haute in the middle of a rainstorm, it's just over. And you're like, oh,
Mm.
okay. Now I just go home for Thanksgiving. It's like a little bit deflating thing. So that's the one thing I don't miss is that deflating feeling of it being over. I still get now that I feel like that deflation's going to be even bigger now in March because now we're building up to what is now like a 6-month regular season instead of a 2-month.
Mm.
So,
yeah, a couple takeaways from what you just said. You called yourself a journalist. That was cool. I like that. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, it's kind of like Christmas Day, right?
You're not wrong. Yeah, it's like Christmas Day. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Exactly.
you get excited as a kid, and then it's like you open up all the presents. I mean, that's very spoiled, but that's the way it is. You're like, oh wow, this was it, and then like it's over. I was so excited, and now I got to wait another year. I mean, other sports you have in baseball and basketball and professional sports, you have series of games, and it's a long drawn out thing. I guess the only other comp would be football, but you have to earn your way there, and there's multiple rounds and stuff. And I guess we have regionals in cross country, but that's not a real meet. That's just more of a you've got to show up and do this thing before you can get to the big one. Yeah, it definitely goes like that. Right. And there's so much small variance in between finishing 20th and finishing 60th. Right. And so it's, it can render rankings kind of meaningless, but I don't know. I kind of enjoy the chaos, and the small differences between a good race and a bad race are always interesting to view. And, a decent segue here is talking about Luis Grijalva, who last year had one of the more mystifying performances at nationals, finishing like 52nd, and we're like,
yeah, maybe in the 60s,
what
50s or 60s,
yeah. Like what happened? And he didn't solely lose the meet for them, obviously, but he had one of the days where it was like, well, it was just it was exemplary of what of NAU's kind of tough day overall. And I always thought about the moment we caught on camera in our series with him last year, where he was talking with Mike Smith about, I don't want to just be an average college runner. I don't want to be just this guy. And then you look at it and you kind of felt bad for him last year because he had that bad day at nationals, despite this desire to be better and to really elevate himself. But then the irony is, since that race, he's stayed true to that message, and he's been like a man on a mission to not be just that everyday. I mean, he never was, even when he got 50th or whatever, that everyday NCAA runner. He's arguably been the best distance runner in the NCAA since that moment. And he has another one of those moments, pretty significant. It's only a second PR at this time trial race in Chandler, Arizona. But he ran 7:42 in a 3,000 and beat Drew Hunter by 2 seconds in a 3,000 meter time trial in Arizona. Again, the times, I imagine they weren't surprising for you, just simply because that's only a second off his PB. But beating Drew Hunter, another clear sign that Luis Grijalva is just continuing to elevate himself. What was your reaction to his performance over the weekend?
I mean, it's expected now. I feel like he is at a new level now, where he's now entering the realm of being able to compete at the post-collegiate elite level. And not just compete like, oh, I can get entered in a meet. Like, he can be in the top 3 in any pro type field in the US. He has that talent now. Clearly just took down Drew Hunter by 2 seconds in the 3K. Drew Hunter's would have gone to Worlds if he didn't get injured, right? So he shows that he's in the mix now with these top dogs. I'm excited to see what a Grijalva will do when he's at a pre-classic, at a U.S. champs. Wow. Will he? I mean, I don't know. It would be interesting because he is American, but he's also Guatemalan. So he might be able to get like a fast pass and just represent Guatemala in the Olympics. He might choose to do that. But he's showing improvement. And now check this out. Here's a little tidbit. I'm hearing sources say that
You
Luis
reporting
didn't
this?
know that the sources say Luis didn't know he was on his final lap, and he ran 7:42. So
So
he
he
kind
didn't
of lost
even he
track
didn't
of.
really kick. He was
So
waiting
he
to
didn't even
kick.
kick. Yeah,
Oh,
he thought he had a lap to go.
ah,
And he ran
that'd be
7:42.
pretty. That'd be pretty solid. It'd be embarrassing if it went the other way and he lost because he forgot to kick, but he still won apparently and forgot to kick. To your point about representing Guatemala, I don't know his interests, but as far as contract goes, him running for the U.S. would be much more lucrative, I think, than him running for Guatemala. He may want so badly to run in the Olympics and may want to represent Guatemala as a source of pride for him that he does that. But I would imagine someone like him who's coming out of college and going to be in line for a decent contract would want the bigger money. But by representing the U.S., I totally could be wrong though. Yeah, I think I'm not ready to put him squarely in the mix to make a Olympic team just yet. He doesn't have the 5K times yet to be competitive, but I think there's no doubt he's faster than his 13:29 PB. And Hunter, I mean, it's been a long time since he raced, so this wasn't wholly surprising, but it's just another positive sign for Grijalva, and I think you have to put him as after watching what he did at OSU last month and how he's been since indoor season, and it continues to be consistent, and he's just, the word out of Flagstaff is just how motivated he is. He came back after NCAA's was canceled in March and ran like a converted 353 or something in the dome. I mean, in the mile. This guy is on a different level completely, and it's pretty impressive to watch. And I think in next month he'll be running the 5,000, and he's in the sub 13:15 race, so he could pop off a huge one and really have his biggest breakout coming. It's cool to see like mixing in cross country performances with track. I kind of wish this was a routine thing. All we usually get is the coming off cross nationals and then you go to Boston. Well, that's not an option this year, but I like seeing people hop on the track and then do cross country as well. It's pretty cool. I mean, and you have to think he's kind of training for, I don't know, training primarily with cross country in mind. So he's running these times without being specifically track sharp. I imagine it's all the more impressive. Do you want to get to some more of the performances from this race? And by that, I basically mean on the other end of the spectrum, NAU star freshman Nico Young running 8:09, which had to be disappointing for him. What did you think of that race?
I think it's a not race sharp race. I think it's more of a. I mean, I don't know. I didn't see the way the race played out, right? So we only saw like the finish, and the finish was just back. I think based on my conversations with his coach, he is definitely not an 8:09 in shape runner. Like that's not indicative of his fitness right now. I think it's more of indicative of just lack of being prepared for races. You know what I mean? So especially at a level where it's not by yourself in high school, right? It's with Drew Hunter, with Luis Grijalva. And I think it's more of a middle of training. He's just not prepared to run a fast 3K right now. And I know the coach seemed confident that he would be fine when it comes to the 5K in December.
Yeah, and if that's the case, I wonder why they had him run. I guess it's a tune-up for that 5,000 that he's going to try to break 13:30.
Yeah, you don't want your first race of trying to put on spikes and run fast speed to be the actual race. You want to have something where you get your feet wet. And if it's an 8:09, hey, at least you got the practice of, putting your body through a first few laps of that pace. I mean, he said most likely he'll go through 8:09 in the 5K.
Yeah.
So like,
I haven't
it's one
seen
of those types of things.
Yeah, I haven't seen the race. I'm sure it was on Instagram Live at some point. I just haven't had a chance to check it out. I wonder, though, if the 8:09 is a product of trying to go out too fast. I mean, if you got guys up there in your race who are running in the 7:40s, he's not ready to do that. Clearly, he's running 7:59, so 10 seconds off his PB isn't some horrific result. Obviously, when you're talking about a star freshman, you expect and are eager to see them bust off a good time. But I think it's more probably the race environment that he's in. We see this all the time. Guys get in the wrong race and they just kind of explode or implode, I guess. So that could have been it. I didn't see the race exactly, so I don't know if he went out too hard or what the deal was. But I could certainly understand if that was the case.
Yeah, I think it's like one of those things where you got to pretend this race was a workout race. And like this happens a lot in workouts, right? When you have a bad day in a workout, right? Where you're not really, it's okay to hit the wall in a workout. Like you don't want to have a bad day in a race. That matters. And I think in their mind, this was just kind of like they didn't even tell anyone it was happening, right? It was kind of like hidden. So clearly it wasn't like we're building up for the X Endurance 3K against 10-minute elite. I think it's more just like, hey, we can get a race simulation here, so let's do it. And I think we should really know where Nico Young is in that 5K. And I think it should be good. I mean, I'm still thinking he'll be a 1340 guy, but hey, some people are saying 1330. I mean, a sub 1330. Kevin thinks it'll be sub 1330. I think it'll be 1340, 1330 high. That's what I think.
Wait, who thinks it's going to be sub 1330?
Kevin.
Oh no, not for Nico Young yet. I mean, what he ran he ran what 1353 back in the summer. No, not after this 809. He's maybe in the 1340s. I mean, I have a little bit less faith now that he's run this time. Like I know I was saying that he could possibly have gone out too hard, but I don't think he's ready to run sub 1330. Like, let's slow down a little bit. He's what, 19 years old? I mean, come on. We'll see.
You're listening to this, Kevin, on your run? You hear that? Lincoln's calling me out.
I would venture if someone said, is he either going to run under 1330 or above 14 minutes? I would say above 14 minutes. That's 13. Running the 1320s at 19 is pretty rare, especially the little amount of racing he's been doing. I do want to look forward to this December 5th 5,000. We'll skip over the 1330 race. We can talk about Nico in a little bit, but talk about this field that Luis Grijalva is going to encounter. Emmanuel Bohr, Drew Hunter's in this race again, Sam Atkin, Ben Blankenship, Cooper Tier, looking for some other big, Kirabel Arasa, Sam Parsons. Do you think Grijalva, should we call Grijalva the favorite in this?
I think so. I mean, you didn't mention anyone that I would think already as like that has a resume that would be like, yeah, no doubt I'll take you over Grijalva. I mean, they all sound like we are 13-20 load type guys. So, yeah. And I think Grijalva's now in that realm. I mean, I'll be excited to see how Cooper Tier does. We haven't seen him since indoor. Right. He was running well indoors. He was on that DMR collegiate record team anchor. He qualified in the 3 and then the 5. So Cooper Tier will be an interesting college on college competition between him and Grijalva. But yeah, I think Grijalva might win that race, which is crazy.
Yeah, we'll see. Arasa last year, seems like 10 years ago, but ran 13:17 to get second in the Peyton Jordan 5,000. So if he is anywhere close, then that should be a pretty good race. My question is everyone running unattached? Like this is not, they're not going to wear their college kits, right?
I don't know
that to be sure.
So will it
the reason I asked
record?
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. I just was thinking about the collegiate records. Let's see, because on the men's side, let's see, I always forget what the outdoor one is. It's I guess 13 flat, but that's outside collegiate competition. You know, if it was a legal competition, I think definitely we're talking about a guy who could hop into, I don't know, maybe the top 10.
Here's a question. Would the times count towards qualification in indoors?
No, because it's outdoors.
Well, what about would they count towards qualification to outdoors?
No, because I think there's a window, right? I don't know. Everything's weird now. I have no idea what's going on. They
might
count
ask,
towards the
right?
Olympic. They count towards the Olympic trials, right? That's the big thing. Yeah, and I think they also count for the Olympics as well. Getting the Olympic standard. So you got some guys probably trying to do that.
Yeah, I mean that's sure. What would Grijalva need to do in this race for you to be like, I think Grijalva is going to make the U.S. Olympic team? Like to have that thought, to be like, holy shit, he might. What would he have to run?
Well, I mean, let's look at this here. We've got 3 guys who are sub 13 guys in Lopez Lamong, Paul Chelimo, and Woody Kincaid. Now, you can say Kincaid maybe isn't always going to be a 12:58 guy, time in, time out, and he's healthy. I mean, have to run like 13:05.
13:05. So that's the over-under. If you want 13:05 or faster.
No, that's not the over. The over-under is still 13:15, but the over.
No.
If you run
the over-under of you,
I'm just
getting confident in him.
Yeah, he would legitimately have to close well with a 13:05 for me to say, oh, he's got a shot. I mean, maybe I'm being a little facetious. Maybe if he ran 13:10 and ran well, considering it's December and would be 7, 8 months before the trials, yeah, I'd probably still be saying that same thing. But a realistic shot, you've got to be able to run low 13 minutes, run a tactical race when you're closing in 4 minutes the last 1600. I mean, it's going to obviously be hard. He doesn't have that experience, but running 13:15 and running a big PR is not the same, obviously, as being in contention to make the Olympic team. He'd have to take several more steps up.
Yeah, I think if he runs 13:0, whatever, that means he's like, all right, he's a real deal for team potential in this upcoming year.
It's just tough. I mean, the men's 5K has gotten really, really competitive. I mean, it's always been competitive, but even with some guys falling off, Hassan Mead, maybe not the same person, obviously, and Bernard Lagat's not there anymore, and he won the last trials. Well, Woody Kincaid stepped up. Lopez Lamong has returned to his elite level, and obviously Paul Chelimo is still Paul Chelimo, and it's real tough. And then you're not even talking about, Sean McGorty and Fisher, Eric Jenkins
Klecker.
And Fisher. Yeah. So there's a lot of guys in his way, but he continues to move, he continues to run well. Who knows, but and maybe I should amend that. If he runs the standard, I'll take him a little bit more seriously. I think that's going to be tough. I think that's the goal for a lot of these guys. That's not an easy thing to do, even for somebody who's been running as well as he has. First and foremost, because I don't think he's ever, he hasn't really figured out the 5,000 meter distance. He was in that fast 5,000 that produced Tyler Day's big breakout performance last indoor season, and he ran 13:29 and was a non-factor. So he's a different athlete than then, but he needs to figure out this 5,000. Just because he's been good in cross and then been running good 3Ks and good miles doesn't necessarily mean he's got the 12 and a half laps down pat yet. So we'll see what he does here. But yeah, if he runs 13:0 something, I'll take him a lot more seriously.
Maybe he realizes like, hey, 3K is my distance. And maybe he tries to convince Mike like, hey, I know we're all thinking about NCAA 3K XC double. Why don't we just flip it around and do the XC World 3K double? So try to qualify for Team USA in a 3K.
I mean, maybe if they have that event, right? I don't know if World Indoor is going to even happen. Yeah. Maybe. He may just also be trying to get his first NCAA title. We're talking like this guy, like he's been Edward Cheserek or something. He's just he's just on a hot streak. We got to see if he can keep it up and be the best in the NCAA before we anoint him as a Team USA member. So it's exciting. I'm excited for this December meet, which is going to have a lot of people, I think, running really fast, and the type of thing we wouldn't get in a normal season. Get all these people together during a normal, what would normally be a dead time in the sport of track and field and cross country. Okay, didn't think before Saturday that we'd be talking about high school girls cross country, but here we are, Gordon, because Jenna Hutchins, yes, Jenna Hutchins, Tennessee high school junior, became the first U.S. high school girl to break 16 minutes for a 5K in a cross-country race, 15:58.42. And before you think that it was a short course which produced this time, her GPS watch, according to a story by Corey Mole over at MileSplit, 3.13 miles. So she ran a little extra distance to run the first sub 16-minute 5K. This is to be commended and to be applauded. This was incredibly impressive, regardless of if the course was flat and whatever it is. To do something no one's ever done, considering the talent that's come through the U.S. system and on the women's side in cross country, mighty impressive. Unless you think this person is not legit, she was 5th at Foot Locker last year as a high school sophomore. What do you think of this run?
Out of nowhere is what I thought about it, right?
Right.
It's kind of cool though, right? That's what this whole year has been giving us. Like we've been getting when Bryn Brown went out of nowhere and ran her incredible 3,200. You had high school kids running sub 4 mile in the middle of pandemic, right? And now you have a thrown together national championship, and you get someone who breaks Caitlin Tui's 5K record. It's just like, whoa. So, yeah, I mean, you have to assume the course is short, right? I guess that's what everyone does.
I don't know, Gordon. No, they're saying, hold on.
Do they have official?
Here's the line from Corey Mole. It also should be noted that course director said afterward quite clearly that John Hunt Park had been measured scientifically down to the last meter with a fully credentialed 3.1 course. There you go. There's no denying
scientifically.
It, right?
How do you measure scientifically? What does that mean?
I think I don't know if they said that. That's Corey's words, not the. Well, I would assume not the race directors, but it's not unscientifically. He said it scientifically. Like I think he's measurements, science, facts, rules. It's all there.
There we go. 3.1.
Not a short course.
He said 3 point. But is it 3.1 miles or is it 5K? Because what is a 5K actually?
Yeah, right.
That's where he left it. So a 5K actually is 3.106 miles, and this course is only 3.1 miles. So that means we're talking about 0.006 of a mile, 0.0068 of a mile.
Her GPS said 3.13.
So it's 10 meters short of a 5K.
Wow. But except it was scientifically down to the last meter. I don't want to hear it.
Because he said it's 3.1 miles. If it's 3.1 miles, that's 10.9 meters short of a 5K.
Mm-hmm.
And then how long does it take to run 11 meters? What?
Beats me, man.
2 seconds?
I think you're trying to find.
Is this not a 15:58? Is this a 16 flat 0.1? Those 2 extra. Those 11 extra meters might have put her over 16 minutes. I'm not saying, but that's just my scientific outlook on this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They did. I was more skeptical, not of the time, but the fact that they labeled this a national championship. She won by nearly a minute, the Running Lane XC National Championships. I'm going to call this, it was an official 3.1 miles, which maybe make it the first high school cross country meet in U.S. history to actually be measured by something more than an eyeball, because we've all run those races or seen those races. That's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that 5K was just 2.9 miles because everyone just PR'd by a minute. So I think this is kind of legit. For Hutchins, though, possibly big future, and maybe one of the big losers as far as not having the national championships at Foot Locker or NXN this year. Because she's
How
a superstar.
quickly-
Apparently only running 38 to 40 miles a week. That is what a college coach wants to hear. Low mileage and already running really good times. Every team in the country is going to want Jenna Hutchins next year.
Yeah, how quickly then Chris Miltenberg picked up the phone after seeing that race?
You think? Hey, UNC, baby. Yeah.
Actually, here's a good thing. Over under going to a school in North Carolina or not?
I don't understand she's from Tennessee, so that's relatively close to home. I mean, not like super close, but it's the same ballpark. It's not like it'd be like going to Stanford. I'm sure it's a good shot. I don't understand. I know NC State is a solid program, and I know the allure of Chris Miltenberg is strong, I guess. I didn't realize he was such a good recruiter. You know what I mean? Like, ever since UNC, he's just been like pulling everybody down there. I didn't know. I guess I misinterpreted his recruiting sway I attributed a lot of it to the fact that he was coaching at Stanford, and people want to go to Stanford to get a Stanford education and to be in perfect weather all year round. But apparently it was more on the side of Chris Miltenberg just being a fantastic recruiter, because he's got Sydney Mascarelli, Bryn Brown. Who else? Is Thorvaldson going there too?
Yeah, they're all going. Everyone and their mom is going to North Carolina.
It's going to be a Tar Heel.
Yeah.
So
I got some update.
Yeah.
I got an update on this December meet. According to my sources, aka I just texted Mike. I asked, first of all, the 3K times that were run, they were hand timed. It wasn't anything official. He wasn't even there.
Yeah.
He says he doesn't even know if everyone ran. It's just all based off of what was tweeted out. But it was hand timed. It's not official timed marks. The meet in December, their college guys are going to be running unattached because they can't provide travel, so they have to go there on their own. And he thinks that it's probably not going to count towards any type of record book because it's not in season. He said I should ask the people in charge if it is, but if they're running unattached, it's just going to count as it's just like a European meet, basically.
Well, yeah. Lowy Lalang got to run in his Arizona kit and has the so-called collegiate record, and he ran on a race in like July in a Diamond League, and he ran 13 flat back in whatever it was, 2013. So if that can count, I don't understand why this can't count. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I've never really liked.
How did he get to Diamond League? He didn't buy his own flight there. It was probably paid for, right?
I don't like it when it's outside of. You can't pick and choose. Like, some outside of collegiate competition counts and some doesn't. I don't like that rule.
It becomes weird when you're in your senior year, like your summer of your senior year. Maybe it ends.
And you've already graduated. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, technically you're still in college. Maybe, I don't know. What if you're graduating in December? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, we found out it's going to be a collegiate record in our hearts, but not on the books. If he does,
they got to get out there and do it first and foremost. Let's see. I was trying to check and find out if we had any emails. It does not appear so. You got anything else? Anything else you're hearing in the running world that you really need to get off your chest?
The Southern Conference and the MAC Conference held their conference championships. You know, they came in, they were canceled, but then they're like, screw it, we're doing it. The MAC was won by the we talk about under reported results because there's not much to talk about. Here we go. So the MAC Conference was won by Northern Illinois on the women's side and Eastern Michigan on the men's side. But here's the main thing. Josh Park, a senior from Ohio, and Kaylee Perry, a freshman from Bowling Green, they booked their tickets to NCAAs because they won conferences. So that's good for them. I mean, they probably wouldn't have gone as individual qualifiers in the regional system, but now here we are. They're
There
going
you
to
go.
NCAAs. On the
Congratulations.
Southern Conference, Furman women won 28 points. And on the men's side, the Furman men scored 20 points. So not a perfect score for either the men or the women, but close. But individually, Lindsay Stallworth, a junior from East Tennessee State, she's going. And then on the men's side, Daniel Bernal, a Furman, but most likely Furman will make it as a team.
Yeah,
So
they're going as
therefore,
a team.
so then I'm gonna get in trouble. Jahazib Shabazz from Virginia Military Institute, senior, he's going.
Oh,
He got second, so it's kind of wild. We're having they literally these. That's kind of crazy thing about these two conferences, these teams. They literally had their conference championship on the day of what would have been NCAAs. It's kind of wild.
I don't really know what else to add here. These are
here's
strange times we live in.
One last thing to add. You ready for this? So we talk about
ready.
will indoor happen, right? We're like, with the whole like pandemic and all, we started having indoor meets. This past weekend, there were like a few, I'm not sure what division, maybe it was NAIA or D2 or something, where we had indoor track meets go down this past weekend. I think there was like 3.
In November?
Yeah. Get going early. Why? I don't know, man. They want to have,
because they know it's going to be canceled, probably.
So they want to get on top of that leaderboard early, right? So
yeah.
But like here's one in Iowa, the Dort Triangular. It's an indoor meet in Sioux Falls.
I missed indoor track names.
In Sioux Center, Iowa, 200-meter flat track. All right, who do you want to know the winner of? Because we never Dakota State versus Dort. Have you ever heard of Dort? It's NAIA. I never heard of. Versus Dakota State. I have not heard of it's a dual meet.
Dort.
Are you ready for what result do you want? What result do you want?
The mile.
The mile. Here we go. Mile was won unattached, 425 over Alex Durer of Dakota State, who ran 425.41. So that was a close finish. Might have been a kick of the week right there. We will never know.
Did they wear masks?
I don't. Probably not. And here's the thing, though. There's meets happening. Most of these events, I mean, there's like 2 sections of the 60, 2 of the 200, 3 of the 400, 1 mile, 1 3K. There was 11 weight throwers. I mean, it makes it look like at least a conference championship can be held based on the numbers, right? Where you have 16 per event. But yeah, we're seeing it happen. So it makes me assume if it's already happening here in the NAIA, SEC 100% is going to have a season. And basically the only thing that will take away NCAA indoors is if enough other conferences like Ivy League go like, we're not doing it. But as of right now, you got to assume Big 12, ACC, SEC, basically all the conferences that did cross country are at least going to do it. So it'll be interesting. I might have to start calculating the 50% number again on if we get 50% canceled schools. But hey, indoor track has officially been brought back. That's a word on the street.
Indoor track has officially been. I like that. And before we go, we got to get your update. How is the Sixers offseason going so far? You made it through the draft. Are the eyes still on James Harden, or have we gone away from that?
Dwight Howard, baby.
Well, yeah, we're talking superstar basketball players. Sorry.
Wait, I missed the question. Sorry, what would you say?
Oh, I said, are the eyes still on James Harden? Is he coming to Philadelphia?
I don't want to trade him for Ben Simmons. I have a sentiment. There's a problem in me where sometimes the best decision is not the decision I want to make. In this decision, my heart is still attached to, I want it to work. Because here's the thing. If James Harden and Joel Embiid win a NBA title,
there you go.
I'll be amazing. But if Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid win an NBA title, it would be like double that. And I would rather shoot for the stars and go for that double exhilaration than just get the half exhilaration of a Harden and Embiid. They're both great, but like, let's be honest. If Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid did it, and then at the end, they just shouted trust the process, and Sam Hinkie was just standing in the corner with a smug on his face, it'd be the greatest thing. It'd be a movie book ending. They would sell the rights right away. ESPN 30 for 30.
No, that works.
Moneyball Part 2, Sam Hinkie style. It'd just start. That's what would happen.
We'll see. Well, they do have some shooters on their roster again. That's nice to see that I know they took a 1-year break from having shooters on the team, but appears that they got that in Seth Curry and Danny Green. We'll find out. I think Daryl Morey is trying to get his boy back, but which would be trading 5 years of Ben Simmons for 2 of James Harden and a lot more money. But find out. The NBA always entertains. I know that's what you're doing in your off time, is trying to figure out what all is going to happen. We got a season that starts less than a month from now, which is crazy. But that's keeping me excited for sports, because I know our football teams right now are both draining down the sink. So
hey, Eagles are still in first place, baby.
Yeah, I mean the NFC East the NFC East doesn't count, but yeah, whatever. All right. That'll do it for us today. It'll be, I believe, Kevin and Gordon tomorrow. You can email the show, FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com. Keep sending those screenshots. If you're listening on Stitcher, I want to see them, because I don't believe it's a real app. Just like Gordon doesn't believe that you can measure a course scientifically. Any case, we'll see you tomorrow.